Is Project Reality still better than Squad? Thanks to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. For many years, and by many I mean at least half my lifetime, I've been a no-good Project Reality simp.
I'm too good at the game.
For years I made content enjoying and promoting the game. In some cases that are unfortunately some of my most popular Project Reality content, promoting the game by directly taking massive dumps on its competitor, Squad. I would brazen, and without hesitation, claim Squad to be a dumbed-down, embarrassingly shallow pastiche of the true greatest of all time large-scale squad-based shooter, Project Reality. I would often treat Squad players with the same disdain I might treat some dirt on my shoe, or a piece of broccoli stuck between my teeth. But this was in the old times, where I was young and still not that beautiful, where Squad was an arcadey, run-and-gun shooter that had a lot of potential but delivered only a half-assed mediocre combat system that left little room for anything more than surface-level teamwork and communication. And yet here I am, a Project Reality mega simp who hasn't even opened the game in over a month for any reason other than to record this video. Something that certain members of the Project Reality community felt the need to comment on.
So Slorg, have you stopped sucking Squad's yet?
No, never. I'm doubling down. Meanwhile, I've clocked up at least another 100 hours in Squad over the last 6 months, and if anything, seem to be playing the game more and more. So I think it's about time we had a little chat about Project Reality versus Squad, in light of Squad's continuing tactical development from the mouth of a once Project Reality one-trick. But before we go any further, a quick word from this video's sponsor, War Thunder. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made, and you can play it right now for free on PC and consoles. With everything from armoured cars to battleships, take charge of over 2,500 vehicles from the 1920s all the way up to the present day. Vehicles that have been painstakingly modelled down to the smallest components just to make it more satisfying when you blow them up. And with the X-ray damage view, and this is my favourite feature by the way, you get to see exactly which piece of stray shrapnel ruined that tank gunner's life. And with realistic graphics and sound effects thrown into the mix, you can truly immerse yourself in an intense combat experience. So it's no wonder that there are over 70 million players worldwide, creating a truly unmatched historical battle PvP experience. Play War Thunder now for free on PC, Xbox and PlayStation, and while you're at it, click my link in the description or the pinned comment to pick up a massive bonus pack available for new and returning players who haven't played in the last 6 months, which includes exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 silver lions, and 7 days of premium account. This is a limited time offer, so you should definitely get it right now. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it. For anyone not in the know, at least on paper, Squad and Project Reality are pretty much the same game. They both offer a 50v50 squad-based combined arms modern combat first-person shooter experience that attempts to offer mostly realistic gameplay within a more easily accessible and digestible package than Armor or games of that nature. These games essentially operate as a more hardcore alternative to Battlefield, with a greater focus on teamwork and communication over the lone wolf super soldier experience you might get in a more mainstream shooter. Project Reality once stood near enough alone in this niche, with very little, if anything, at least during the mod's inception, really offering any kind of comparable experience. They were of course able to create this by using the framework of Battlefield 2, Project Reality originally being a mod for this game. If you want to know more on the history of Squad and Project Reality, I suggest you watch this video. And this creates our first major sticking point between these two games. Project Reality is old and crusty. It's now a standalone game that doesn't require Battlefield 2 to play, but you can't help but play this thing and feel the old and the jank. So much of this game feels like it's desperately trying to not let you do what the devs are trying to let you do. It's the little things that start to grind on you the more you play. Having to awkwardly bunny hop up this slope that you should probably be able to walk up. Having a deviation system that is represented entirely through bars at the bottom of your screen and is not reflected in any way by the scope or barrel position. This weird thing your scope does if you jump and then pull up your scope immediately afterwards. How switching from your standard weapon to the bipoded version requires you to literally switch to a different weapon, and then you can just use the bipod anywhere without being attached to any actual surface, which is kinda hella broken, not gonna lie. And let's not even start on the PR back end for server owners, which I know from experience is a spaghetti code hellscape that not even Pirate Software Thor would dare mess with. The game, at least mechanically speaking, most of the time feels like the Slitheen from Doctor Who. Aliens that hide among us wearing human skin suits, but the human skin never quite fits right, and at all times feels uncomfortable and unnatural. Squad, on the other hand, is built on Unreal Engine 4, still feels shiny and new despite being almost a decade old, and apart from a myriad of bugs and serious optimization issues, tends to feel like it is in fact wearing its own skin. But if you can look past the jank, the content that these PR devs have managed to shove into this elaborate skin suit is rather impressive. Aside from the fact that you have almost too many maps to choose from, an entire World War II mod and a Vietnam mod built into the game, and an extended choice of factions that Squad can only achieve with community-made mods of their own, Project Reality has one of the greatest features I've ever seen in a multiplayer shooter that very few even AAA titles, nay quadruple A titles, have managed to replicate: the grappling hook. The humble grappling hook seems so simple. Man throws hook, it attaches to thing he throws it at. Him and any other player in the game can climb the rope attached to the hook. And yet Squad, Hell Let Loose, Squad 44, Armor, I think, even Rainbow Six Siege that has breaching mechanics that revolve around grappling hook technology do not have the power to give a guy a hook and let him throw it wherever he wants. You'd be amazed at how many attacking and defending strategies are opened up with the power of the grappling hook. But although I'd like to have the humble hook pumped directly into my veins until I fall into a peaceful, easily traversable slumber, I understand that for many, grappling hooks don't mean diddly piss. So let's talk about Squad's next big content-related elephant in the room. Cas. Close air support is a huge part of Project Reality and a huge missing piece in Squad's arsenal. In PR, you can fly a multitude of jets and attack helicopters, including multi-seat jets where one guy controls the bombs or the other guy flies, or the Cobra, or the Apache, or the Cass Huey, or the Kiowa, or any other aerial combat vehicle I can't be bothered to list. The best part about Cass is how ground units through laser designation technology can call in Cass strikes on targets, marking them with GTLDs, using cross-squad communication to organize strikes directly with pilots in the air. It's not a cheap cop-out commander-controlled airstrike asset. It's a player-controlled strike from both the player on the ground and the player in the air. And it's easily the coolest part of Project Reality and potentially its strongest selling point in the Project Reality vs Squad 2024 debate. And as far as I'm aware, Squad shows no signs of adding player-controlled CAS anytime in the future. And while yes, there are some very limited CAS options in Squad if you play on modded servers, these definitely feel a bit jank and also have no laser-guided coordination between ground and air. Add into the mix that Project Reality is also completely free while Squad is almost £40, and it's starting to feel like this is less of a battle and more of a slaughter. And yet here I am, repeatedly cheating on my first love, Project Reality, with a hotter, younger sister, Squad. And to figure out why requires some introspection, because it's not just because she's hot, but it is also a little bit because she's hot. Squad has changed a lot over the last year. It's gone from an arcadey shooter to a game literally trying to imitate that Project Reality feeling. And while it's up for debate as to the success or failure of Squad's latest collection of updates, I can't help but feel like they have gone a long way to creating that Project Reality 2 we've always dreamed of. It's not perfect, and considering the quantity of Squad's player base compared to PR, there will always be portions of the community unwilling to commit to the PR playstyle. When considering this debate in the past, I've always drawn differences in gunplay and community between these two games as the ultimate difference makers that always help me to place Project Reality over Squad as the ultimate air quotes winner. However, these differences in both gunplay and community have significantly decreased over the last year, with the Squad community and gun mechanics of today being far closer to Project Reality, in my eyes at least, than it's ever been. Which is important when you consider that Squad also comes with a promise that Project Reality can't make. Get bananaed! Squad costs money, which for many is a huge barrier to entry, but products that cost money and employ people tend to come with a certain promise of being maintained, especially if that project is pretty much the company's only commercially viable product. Squad has pushed out some absolute banger updates over the last year, not just to gameplay mechanics but also for new factions and content that have led to an increase in player numbers and obviously an increase in sales. This makes committing to the game a much easier sell than asking someone to commit to Project Reality. I think one of the cornerstones of the Squad versus PR debate is the fact that you can kind of only play one. Both demand a fairly substantial amount of time to learn and play, and once you've committed to and learned one, there doesn't seem like much point to also learning and committing to the other. Project Reality is on fairly shaky long-term ground, something that's sad to admit, but I think true. It's obviously a community-made, non-profit mod. It can't be sold or even listed on Steam, and is supported by an entirely community-funded server ecosystem. It's also built off of Battlefield 2 tech, which technically breaks the license agreement of the game. Something that if Blue Drake is to be believed, and I think on this point he should, despite some of the insane things he says and does, PR is technically illegal, and at the mercy of an EA cease and desist. Correct me if I'm wrong. Additionally, as PR is entirely community-led and not for profit, updates are often few and far between, and at the mercy of the spare time and energy the devs have available. This means that while Squad has pushed out new factions and content this year, I'm still sitting here waiting for PR to release this big new update they've been teasing for forever, while I slowly age and wither into obscurity. I think it's an even harder sell for PR because the devs kind of just make whatever they feel like, instead of what the game needs. Stop looking at me, nerd. Meaning we've seen an increase in World War II maps, which, while an interesting part of the game, I don't think is the main draw of Project Reality. When a focus on new vanilla maps, factions and content in general would be more viable for a wider audience. These considerations are likely something Squad devs weigh up in board meetings with investors, while PR makes these decisions seemingly on a whim based on what devs are available and what they like making. In short, Squad comes with a promise. Buy this game and we'll keep making the game. Project Reality comes with a lofty dream that at any moment you could wake up from as if PR was never there at all. But that's not to say that PR is bad. It's just harder to recommend to someone, especially when 2024 Squad exists. PR still offers a more personal experience due to the smaller player base. If you play this game regularly, you will inevitably make PR friends that just seem to have a tendency to become friends for life. There are people in the gameplay you're watching right now that I've played PR with on and off for at least 10 years. And it's not like I had to organize this play session to get these guys in. They're just always there. Always. Playing this game, regardless of how long it's been since I last booted it up, always feels like I'm coming home. It's definitely a different vibe to joining a random Squad server and feeling like a faceless grunt surrounded by players you'll likely never see again. PR is like living in a small, rural town. Everyone knows everyone, nothing ever changes, the same things always happen, and the same people always do the same things. It's warm and cozy and small. Squad is your move to the big city. Things are flashier and busier. There are way more people and way more opportunities and way more going on. But you will inevitably spend a lot more time being treated like garbage, shouting at random people you don't know and will never see again, while regularly being baffled by just how stupid some individuals can be. It's hard to say that either of these games is better than the other. I've been really enjoying Squad recently and have been genuinely impressed by their recent updates and dedication to building out the game, except for that FPS sway bug thing, which was pretty sad. PR's dev team over the last year, by comparison, have honestly left me rather disappointed, but the PR community remains unmatched and will likely always be the best group of people I'll ever play video games with. So I imagine that ultimately the decision of which of these to choose will largely come down to the reasons why you play games. My reasons have led me more recently to pursue Squad over PR. Your reasons may send you the other way. I think the beautiful takeaway here is that whichever way you go, you're unlikely to be left disappointed. Although I do think that Squad is one playable CAS update away from being one of the greatest large-scale military shooters money can buy. Lead dev Baron von Boyce, hear our cries. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Play War Thunder now for free on PC, Xbox or PlayStation, and don't forget to click my link in the description or the pinned comment for a juicy bonus pack which includes a bunch of premium vehicles and money, available for new and returning players who haven't played in the last 6 months. This is a limited time offer, so go get it right now. And other than that, thanks for watching, all the best, and I hope to see you in the next one.
Can you actually...
Yes.
No way.
Let's go up to the power station and help them.
Come on.